And welcome everybody to another edition of Tobs Talk. I'm Jake Donnelly, and Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, the Tobs started yesterday at 500 at 18-18, and the Tobs ended yesterday at 500 at 19-19, a doubleheader against the Edenton Steamers. Braden Bristo took the mound for game number 1, and he was terrific. He allowed just 2 runs through 7 innings, allowed just 5 hits, struck out 7, walked 4, but he got the loss because Jeff Stoddard, the starting pitcher for the Edenton Steamers, was 1 run better. He allowed just 1 run in the 5th inning. That cut the deficit to 2-1. The Tobs would threaten in the 6th inning with back-to-back singles by Seth LaRue and Ben Schmucker to begin the inning. Matthew Parrish then laid down a sacrifice bunt to move the guys over, and Douglas Ard, who hit the ball well every single time at the plate against the Petersburg Generals, swung at the first pitch, hit a ground ball to the third baseman. LaRue was caught in a rundown trying to score. It ended up being a 5-2-5 fielder's choice, and the Tobs really didn't threaten in the 7th inning against Stoddard. Both pitchers ended up picking up the complete games, but Bristo with yet another tough luck loss. Remember, against Morehead City, he went 7 1/3 innings and struck out 10 Marlins, and yet still picked up the loss. So if Bristo, if not for bad luck, he would have no luck whatsoever. The only 2 runs that he allowed, a 2-run home run to Nick Kranick in the top of the 1st inning, really his only mistake of the game, and sadly for him and for the Tobs, it ended up costing him and the Tobs the game. However, in game number 2, the embattled Ryan Minteer had the ball on the mound for the Tobs, a guy who entered the game with an 0-3 record and an ERA at 16.35. And what did he do? Well, all he did was go 4 innings of scoreless baseball, striking out 4 Steamers, and he was able to work in and out of trouble the entire night, getting a big 6-4-3 double play ball with the bases loaded in the 4th inning to get out of trouble. And that was a theme that would actually continue for the Tobs as the pitching staff picked up 2 more double play balls, including Michael Wilson, who had runners on 1st and 3rd with 1 run in the 6th inning, and got a 6-4-3 double play ball. The Tobs, all the runs they would need, those came in the bottom of the 1st inning as Adam Pate led off with a double to right center. Doug Teagarden followed with a single to drive him in. He moved up on a wild pitch. Then a double by Drew Cole over Kranick's head in right field drove home another run. Then Matt Rubino, a single up the middle, made it 3-0. And a couple batters later, Matt Rembolak, who has been swinging a hot bat as of late, would make it 4-0 with a single right back up the middle. Another RBI for him. He now has 2 on the season. The Tobs would score a couple more later in the game, taking a 6-1 lead. Chris Williams would pitch the top of the 7th inning, shutting out the game for the Tobs. It was not a safe situation, although he still is perfect, 6-4-6, and he is just mowing guys down. His ERA now dropping under 1 on the season, which is why he got my all-star vote, although apparently nobody else voted for him, but they haven't seen just how good that guy, that sophomore from NC State, has been for the Tobs out of the bullpen, really locking down those later innings for the Tobs. Well, tonight's game is against the Wilmington Sharks. It is going to be our Buffalo Wild Wings night, and that's going to be late night with the Tobs. In other words, after the game, if you want, you can head over to Buffalo Wild Wings, where you will be able to meet some Tobs players, some coaches, and heck, maybe even some front office staff. But first, we'll talk to head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay, right after this next break, right here on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome everybody to Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas & Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. I'm Jake Donnelly, and joining me right now is head coach of the Tobs, Justin Hay. Justin, last night a doubleheader against the Edenton Steamers. Game 1, you threw out Braden Bristo. A couple weeks back in his start against the Morehead City Marlins, he struck out 10 Marlins in a tough luck loss. Then last night against the Steamers, he went 7 innings for the complete game, allowed 2 runs, but yet again ended up with the tough luck loss. As a pitcher yourself, what's going through your mind in a game like that when you know that your team maybe is not going to come up with the run support?
Well, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about doing your job. That's our #1 rule on our team, is shut up and do your job. And that's what Braden did a great job last night. He never got frustrated with the lack of run support. He just went out and did his job, gave us a chance to win, gave the offense a chance to win the game late, which all we can ask for. The offense wasn't able to come up with it, but it's still one of the best games we've played this year all around. I thought we put everything together well. Braden threw well. Offense didn't do bad. Had one chance there late with runners at second and third with one out. Didn't get the job done, but that happens. They pitched well. You tip your cap to them and move forward.
Now, I mentioned before that you were a pitcher in college, and you're the pitching coach for the Tobs. Bristo, he's let up a couple of runs in the first inning in his last 2 starts. Is there anything that he could maybe do differently to try to get himself into the game easier? Because it seems that once he gets through that struggle in the first inning, he's almost unhittable.
Yeah, and we're working on that. I think what he can do is not trying to be so fine in the first inning. I think it's become a thing where now he's worried about it. But as he's progressed, last time it was the first 2 innings he struggled. And we're trying to get him to just relax and go out there and trust his training, because as you see, he gets stronger as the game goes on. Part of that's because he tends to try and pace himself early in the game and hold back. So as he gets deeper into the game, he relaxes and just goes 100%. So, we talked about last night. I mean, he did okay in the first inning, just one pitch really. Got away from it, the guy hit it a long way. But that happens. I mean, we're talking about one pitch over 7 innings that really hurt him. So I don't know that last night he really struggled in the first inning, other than the fact that he threw a lot of pitches. But, that was a little bit of the fact that he's trying to be too fine early and worried about giving up runs. In the first inning you got to go out and just try and get out of the inning quickly. And that, I think if he starts doing that, then he'll be fine.
And so going from one pitcher, Braden Bristo, who has had a couple of good appearances in a row, to Ryan Minteer, who has been struggling for most of the summer, but he was a starter in game number 2, and in game number 2, he ended up going 4 innings of scoreless baseball. What did he do so well out on the mound last night?
Well, he pitched. His last couple outings, he's been overthrowing, trying to do too much with his fastball. His fastball's flattening out, and he wasn't able to locate his pitches. We've talked about it. We've thrown bullpens, just working on toning it back a little bit, even maybe gearing down just a little bit, and pitching. Not trying to overthrow, trusted movement in the zone, not trying to strike everybody out. Trust your defense. Just throw in the zone and let them get themselves out. And that's what he did a really good job of last night. And what he found out was that he was still able to get some strikeouts in some big situations with runners in scoring position because it was there. So he did a much better job of that last night.
Yeah, he picked up 4 strikeouts in the first 2 innings, struck out the side in inning number 1, and then came back in inning number 2 and was able to strand guys on second and third. When you have guys on the base pass in the first couple of innings, and you're able to strand them, does that kind of relax you a bit, knowing that, hey, I can kind of get out of these jams when I get into them?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it gives you a little bit of confidence and lets you know that there's not too much to worry about tonight. Let's just go out there and pitch. And I think the 4-run lead in the first really helped him relax and just pitch, and allowed him to trust himself a little bit more. He wasn't uptight, so that definitely helps.
And talking about that 4-run lead that the Tobs were able to get in the first inning, Adam Pate led off. He played game number 1 in the 9-hole for the Tobs. Then you moved him into the leadoff spot. What was the thinking behind that?
Oh, I mean, Adam's a really versatile player. He's extremely fast, and he's been doing really well lately. Usually he hits down there in the 9-hole just because he's like a second leadoff guy. As our roster's shuffled around, we've lost some of our power guys, such as Taylor Nichols. We had to find somebody else to put there, and Drew Cole's leading the team in home runs with 3, is a good leadoff guy, but also has a little pop. So we've just experimenting with dropping him down in the lineup a little bit. And Pate fills the leadoff role really good now that he's not striking out as much as he was. He's kind of bought into that leadoff role. So we thought, hey, why not? He's hot. Let's put him there. He's hitting some balls hard. If he gets on base, he definitely can cause some havoc on the base pass. I mean, he's a typical leadoff guy when he's not striking out, which he has worked on in the last 2 weeks and really bought into what we're trying to do, and I think it's really helped him a lot.
And in the doubleheader last night, both games the Tobs didn't commit any errors. Have you been working at all, doing extra early work with the team after this All-Star break?
We haven't yet. We've been spending a lot of time during BP fielding ground balls, and our errors early, like I told the guys one night, they weren't just errors. They were forced errors. Like we're trying to throw behind runners and making throws we shouldn't have. We might boot a ball here or there, but generally we're not just kicking it around. We're forcing stuff, little crazy errors that shouldn't have happened. People trying to force things, and that happens. So we've actually just spent a lot of time talking about, what play should we try to make? When should we just eat a ball and keep it and not force the throw and just let the guy stay at first base rather than try to throw it and him get to third base. And we've done a lot better job with our decision making lately.
And hopefully the Tobs can do a much better job with the decision making and continue that run of good play tonight against the Wilmington Sharks. Game starts at 7:05, gates open at 6 o'clock. And remember, folks, tonight's game is presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, where after the game, if you go to Buffalo Wild Wings, it's late night with the Tobs, where you can try to get some autographs from the players and maybe even some of the coaches. All that and more when we come back on Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. And welcome back, everybody, to Tobs Talk. Tobs Talk is presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2. Well, I'd like to thank head coach Justin Hay for coming in this morning. Tonight's game against the Wilmington Sharks is our Buffalo Wild Wings night, and it's also late night with the Tobs. So while the game itself is sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings, after the game, if you want to, you can head out towards Buffalo Wild Wings, located on Raleigh Road Parkway, and you can meet some Tobs players, some coaches, as well as some front office staff if you so choose. I know a bunch of people are going to be getting the wings that they have and all those different types of sauces and seasonings. You always see a lot of people with a lot of messy faces out there at Buffalo Wild Wings. I myself, I'm going to get some potato wedges. Those are my favorite. Throw some barbecue seasoning on that. Yeah, good times. And they have those cool ranch sauces, the normal ranch and also that Southwestern ranch with a little bit of kick, because I like everything a little bit of spicy. Tonight's game, though, is against the Wilmington Sharks, a 7:05 start with gates opening at 6 o'clock. The Tobs currently sit at 19-19. I keep saying that this Tobs team is a 500 ball club, and they are really a 500 ball club. They are 3-4 against the top team in the CPL, the Edenton Steamers, and they are 5-4 against the bottom dwellers in the CPL, the Moorhead City Marlins. And if that is not just the epitome of a 500 ball club, then I don't know what is. But we'll see if the Tobs can get back above 500 and get to 20 wins on the season before 20 losses, as they now sit at 19-19. One more time, folks, remember, gates opening at 6 o'clock tonight for our Buffalo Wild Wings night, and the first pitch is scheduled for 7:05. And yes, the games usually do go off. We fielded a ton of calls in the front office yesterday with people wondering, is the game canceled at around 3 o'clock? No, the games are almost never canceled hours beforehand. Unless there is a hurricane coming through, the game is not going to be canceled. And heck, the Tobs actually played a game in Fayetteville during Hurricane Arthur. So that should tell you just how infrequently these games do in fact get canceled. So if you're looking at the radar, please stop. It was 100% precipitation at 6 o'clock last night, according to the radar, at 7 o'clock, at 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock. And guess what? We played 14 innings of baseball last night, completed both of the doubleheaders, and all we had was a 32-minute rain delay in the middle of game number 2. And really, the Tobs were just 3 outs away from getting both of those doubleheaders in without a single rain delay. So folks, please, yes, come out to the ballpark. We are going to be playing some baseball tonight with the Tobs playing host to the Wilmington Sharks. Gates opening at 6 o'clock. Game time starts at 7:05. And after the game, make sure you head out towards Buffalo Wild Wings to meet some of the Tobs players, the Tobs coaching staff, and maybe even some Tobs front office staff. Well, for the Tobs front office staff, this is Jake Donnelly saying thank you again for tuning in to Tobs Talk, presented by Thomas and Ferris right here on Greenlight Channel 2, and hopefully we'll see you at Fleming.